to the Ramon Foster Show, brought to you by the Get Go Cafe and Market, where they are open for business 24/7, serving hot, fresh food. Moan, how was your Memorial Day weekend?
It was beautiful. It was relaxing, man. I know what Memorial Day is for. I think everyone who's lost someone or been close to someone that they know that's given their all, literally, to the cause of us being able to have a relaxing day. But it was good, man. We supposed to have had a baseball tournament this weekend. My kid got asked to pick up. And this was honestly, as a family, probably our last weekend together until school starts back up. So we took the weekend off. Kids went swimming, man. Went to a Tennessee baseball game for one night, man. It was solid, DK. What about yours?
Yeah, it's really cool. It was relaxing more than anything else here. I just I had the same thing. All of our families home. We chilled. We did the whole burgers on the grill thing, and ended up watching some hockey and some baseball later at night. And it was, and then today I went right back to Steelers HQ and did more work. That's just how it goes, right?
I didn't mention that. Also cooked out too. Had a big old spread for the fam and everything, man. It was a grand old time, man. So a little bit of sports, food, relaxation, right?
Pretty much. Steelers HQ was busy today, hopping again with another wave of OTAs beginning. Those run today through Thursday. And then next week is the semi-main event, that being minicamp, which is not voluntary. But this one, which is voluntary, had, according to video that we shot, Diontae Johnson in attendance. So end of super big controversy or whatever, or not, however it is that you want to look at that sort of thing here. But you had something you wanted to talk about today related to Diontae.
Yeah, man. Relating to him and somebody else. Who gets paid first? Minkah Fitzpatrick or Diontae Johnson?
Who would you pay first?
If I'm being real with you, I got to go with Minkah on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Just position flexibility that he has, the plays that he's made, his past and what he's done. We're not talking just Pro Bowl. We're talking about all pro. When you speak about that position, you're speaking about Minkah, Honey Badger, Jamal, and Jamal Adams. And if I'm missing somebody else that's an all-world safety, I apologize. But those are the guys you're looking at. Collins, before, I think he got released by Washington football team. I'd rather call him that, but Washington Commanders. But at that position, it's Minkah and a few others, and that's it. When you got one of the best in the world at that position, it's best to hold on to him. And right now, too, the stronghold of this team is probably defense for a lot of different reasons. Their age, their experience, what they've been through, the leaders that they have on that side of the ball, Minkah being one of those guys. And I think when you have stability on that side of the ball, it's better for you to go ahead and pay that type of person as far as the team dynamics. And just the contrast on the other side of it, Diontae's a wide receiver. By the way, their market value is through the roof, just in general. The demand for ready-to-go wide receivers is through the roof, too. And Diontae's in that conversation. I actually saw a article this past weekend that said this. It had our guy on there, George Pickens. And it was something that somebody said.
He's your guy.
He's my guy. I'm a roll
really
with him.
Is. I can't even half claim George Pickens with the ownership you've taken of the George Pickens situation.
In the days of us playing and picking day ones, he would be my day one, okay? But the article read, how in the bleep do Pittsburgh Steelers do this year after year? Meaning, how do they continue to go find a wide receiver that's this good, that's this consistent, that becomes a budding star year after year? And the history of this team being able to do this is another product of Diontae. And I'm not taking away from him, but what I'm saying is, I think he will get paid, but the guy that probably will go first, I think, is just the person I think should go first is Minkah Fitzpatrick.
I wonder myself if Diontae's even gonna get paid by this team.
Oh,
because we're talking about second contracts, right?
Yeah, we are.
Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's count all the wide receivers that have gotten second contracts from the Steelers. Antonio Brown, Hines Ward, and if you want to count 1 year of Juju, you can do that. And otherwise, thanks for playing, everybody.
Okay.
Because I look at Diontae and I see him as an incomplete product, meaning he has terrific first half, first 3 quarters of a season, and then he falls off at the worst possible time. I don't believe that makes you a number 1 receiver in this league. Statistics are not. And Diontae is, let's put it this way. What you just said, they could do next year again.
It's the product.
And you could just draft another one. There are so many available to you in the draft and in the first 2-3 rounds of the draft that you can get someone in the 3rd round that can just walk right onto your field and play.
That's true. So with us going back to the point of the wide receiver market, the demand for the ones that are hot and ready to go, that price on that second contract is a lot higher too than what it used to be. And you know what? I say good for those guys that's able to get that and obtain it. I think it's beautiful. But you're also, to your point, looking at it like Pittsburgh has shown that they don't miss at this position when it comes down to drafting them. So let's go to the guys that I play with. Play with Hines, watching him develop into a borderline Hall of Fame career, right?
Yes. Borderline Hall of Fame career. He's got a good bit of the accolades in Pittsburgh. The next 2 guys, and I almost got to count 2, even though the other one didn't get the deals. Well, 3. You know where I'm going. Mike Wallace said no if those rumors are true, and he went and got a bag from Miami. Or was it Minnesota? It was one or the other. It was Miami.
Miami. Went and got a bag from them. Emmanuel is another guy that ended up getting a bag from somebody else.
Still getting his bags.
Still getting them. So you got to look at the amount of talent, honestly, behind Diontae. Chase. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a bunch of guys behind him. George, I'm counting him in, that you almost wager on the fact that, look, you can play hard to get with us, but we're going to play the same exact business that we've always done. Which, and I know this too, as far as the Steelers go, they'll go find another one. Omar said it will be business as usual.
That's it.
And that's the way you got to approach it. But when we're looking at importance, you'd almost lean towards Minkah when it comes down to it, right?
Oh, I wouldn't almost. I'm 100% on that side. I mean, Minkah to me has the ability. Doesn't mean he's completely hit it yet, but he has the ability to be truly special.
Yes,
in the
he
NFL.
does.
And you can't say that about Diontae Johnson on his best day. You just can't.
And I like Diontae. That's personal to me, but what I'm saying is I want to see him go get it. To your point, I just don't know if Pittsburgh is going to lay down and do it for him because he's up. Like, I'm with you. They probably much rather let him hit the open market. Yep.
Play it out. Send him out there. See what you can find. If you like it, you don't like it, you can come back to us. We'll talk some more or whatever. But no, they're not lining up any kind of truck for him. When we come back, Ramon's friends at Pro Football Focus had something to say about the Steelers. Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show. Ramon's buddies at PFF, that of course being Pro Football Focus, have put out yet another meaningless analysis in a long and not at all illustrious line of meaningless analyses. And Ramon has something to say about one that they just put out today.
I think it kind of falls back on the conversation we just had in the previous segment to the importance of a team. Importance to a team is where it goes. And they had their top 3 players from every team based on just their analysis of them and just what they mean to a team. Like Matthew Stafford didn't make the LA Rams top 3 because they got AD, they got Jalen Ramsey, and they got Cooper Kupp. That makes sense to you.
Yeah, that'll kind of do it there.
You know what I'm saying? So for the Steelers, the top 3 players that that they say are important to the team, TJ Watt, you'd agree?
Tough call there, but yes. Cameron
Hayward is another tough call.
No, he's not. These aren't tough calls.
Sarcastically, we're saying that. Man. But it goes back to the other position that we were just talking about. The third one is Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Sure it is.
If I gave you those 3 guys and said start a team, would you like, yeah, this is a great starting point?
Well, start a team is a different criteria, though. See, when you play these games, if you were a GM and you were drafting, you know what you would do is you draft a bunch of young guys. You wouldn't. Yeah, you would. You wouldn't. This is not about drafting to win one game in which you're always going to take Tom Brady as your quarterback until he's like 70. If you're taking 3 Steelers just, to build a team, then I think there's a little bit of a discussion or a debate between Minkah and, let's say, Najee Harris. Am I right?
Well, you say that, and I'd almost tell you, well, you can always go find another running back too. You know
Not
what I'm
for
saying?
the purposes of this exercise, you can't. It's off the
for this.
roster.
Okay,
You're cheating.
I am cheating a little bit, but when I gave you those three players, you'd almost say yes, those are very important pieces
absolutely.
to this team. And then I'll say this too. It said they also considered this will be a really good one for you. Stephon Tuitt and Diontae Johnson were also in that list.
Yeah, Diontae, but
Yep.
and Steph is tough for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
I think we share the opinion that if and when he does return, he is eminently capable of becoming elite again like this.
Yes.
Because of the extraordinary talent that he has.
The old the wild Mustang, as DeCastro calls him. But I think this is very fair when we're looking at what's going to be leaned on when it comes to this team. It's all defense. You know, we're all excited about this receiving core. Najee, as you said, his legs look like, or his quads look like tree trunks right now.
He's unbelievable.
He looks that good in person.
Earl Campbell.
Oh, I'm so glad. Really.
Earl Campbell.
Imagine that with
Barry Foster.
Like legitimately, he's looking the part. That's exciting, DK. And you add in James Daniel. You also add in the fact that these young guys are going to have a better year of experience. And I'll say this too. Kevin Dotson having some competition this year to actually fight for one of the guard positions, I think is going to be so important to the development of that offensive line so much better. So if Najee does look like that, hey, we'll be in a lot of games because of the run game. But the defense is where you're going to hang your hat at. And when we started talking about Minkah in the last segment, and I think it's just hinged on the fact that you know what he can actually do for you on the field. He said Minkah's 11 interceptions and 17 forced incompletions over the last 3 seasons. That has enough to make Pittsburgh's defense one of the best cores in the entire league. Yeah. So I'm all on board when it comes down to hanging my hat on these guys. I am still a little concerned still about the depth as far as giving TJ Watt some time off. Like he's 6th season, you know what I'm saying? 6 or 7 seasons he's going into. So you got to start, okay, when do we start tapering a little bit? When do we start giving him a spell? Who is the guy that's going to be able to make him?
Who is the guy? Is it Derek Tuska? Is it somebody that they still have to acquire? I happen to believe it's going to be an addition from the outside, but then they have to be a little bit careful because of how they got burned last year with a certain outside addition. So they're not going to want to do that twice in a row. If Derek Tuska can really show well in training camp and in the preseason, I think you might have something there. So basically what you're saying, Moan, here is you wholly endorse everything about Pro Football Focus. You think they've got good grades and they're really smart people with a lot of football backgrounds. And
you know what I tell you? Even a broke clock is right 2 times a day. Okay. That's what I tell you. You get lucky every once in a while.
When we come back on the Ramon Foster Show, it's our Hey Moan segment. Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show. And as promised, anytime somebody stops by our downtown headquarters here that we have while we're recording the Ramon Show, we will turn over the Hey Moan segment to them in person. So with that, I'm going to bring in Dane Timmons, and then I'm going to go to Starbucks or something. Here. Hang on a second.
This is always awesome. DK, we are a show for the people, and I'm here for it. Is that Tennessee Orange you have on too? Oh, no, that's Pirates.
It's Pirates.
That's get Pirates. The Pirates Whew, I was getting excited there for a second. What's up, Dane?
How are you?
I'm good. Any relations to Lawrence Timmons?
No, different last name. INS, not ONS.
Okay.
So I've gotten that a few times. So
I'm sure. What's the question for the Hey Moan segment?
Okay, so I was thinking about the Steelers' offense coming up this season. So last year, we saw a lot of problems, a lot with the offensive line not getting a lot of stopping on that defensive line, especially from opposing defenses. I saw that a lot in the playoff game against Kansas City. But what should the Steelers do differently, whether it is trying to go out and sign somebody or just coaching wise? What should they do differently to strengthen that offensive line, especially with a different quarterback? You
know what I tell you, and I appreciate the question. That's good. I would say this: reps. Reps on top of reps on top of reps on top of reps. As much as those guys can get together while OTAs is going on, while minicamp is going on, like they got to be able to communicate with each other in the summertime. It all boils down to them being on the same page, because winning and losing the block is really most of the time a communication thing. Well, I misstepped, or I didn't hear you on a call, or I'm not familiar how you need me to help you with those things. Like, it's one thing to have a combo block on the line of scrimmage, but it's one thing to know what you're getting from your teammate, from the guy to the left or to the right to you. Like, I knew with Marquise was gone. I had to get there as fast as I could. But Alejandro, if he and I were comboing on the backside of a play, I knew that Al needed a little bit more pop as far as him finishing, because he was so tall in those situations like that. And then it's this too. It's also learning who does what best. You know what I'm saying? As far as Dave was awesome with pulling and hitting the edge in those counter plays, you know, when we just run it up on teams, running counter. But the other side of that was Alejandro and myself were good at the combo block securing the front side, so that nobody knocked Dave off his path as far as getting to the line of scrimmage and kicking that defensive end out. Those guys have to get a little mad at each other every once in a while. That way he forced them to know what they're getting themselves into. And you know how it goes. If you got siblings, you know an argument probably brings you closer. It's something you'll laugh about later. And I feel like one thing that Coach Tomlin did with us when we were starting to grow up, he put us in bad situations. He let the defense run down on us, put us in the most obscure type of situation ever so that we could be ready or cause an issue to correct it in the long run. And at the end, it'll really just come down to pride. Like, it'll really come down to, hey, I know I, as a player, hated hearing the chatter of the O-line needs to do this. You guys are holding the offense back. And it really was legitimately like a switch in leadership. It was a switch in just our play. And it was just a switch in overall, we're going to be the baddest guys that walk in this building, on the field, and we're going to lead the charge. Like, the leaders of the team, Ben, of course, Cam on the other side, the older guys when they were there, they were who they were. But when it came to walking out on the field and setting the tone, it got to the point to where we would go out for the coin flip. And Coach C would just automatically be like, big boys, I'm giving it to y'all. Why? Because we became the tone setters. And that came honestly from a lot of just eating crap. You know what I'm saying? As far as the position goes, and not wanting to be the reason that the team didn't succeed offensively. So you got Dan Moore with a year under his belt. You got Kevin Dotson's in a position where he's got to fight for a job now. You bring in Mason Cole, you have James Daniels, and you have Chuks Okorafor. Like, just in general, they should be better because paper says they are. But it also is going to come down to them every day in practice being available, playing a good bit of the preseason games if necessary also, and just having that mindset of it's us versus the world until we carry all on our back. That was our, I guess you say, method of becoming who we were as an OL.
I like that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. No, good question. I've kind of been wanting to get into that point a little bit when it comes down to what it's going to take for that group to get tight, but it's going to be a process still. They can't run away from reps. They can't run away from anything as far as the work goes, because that's the only way you're going to get 5 dudes working as one to be a whole lot better than they were last year.
And then one little small thing off of that, like, media in Pittsburgh, especially the fans, like on Twitter and on Facebook,
talking
like
about
all of
DK.
those questions.
I'm talking about you.
Just the people in general, like, they'll go, like, I'm on Twitter all the time and I see people, you know, they're hating on players. That's through all the sports. If you yourself or another player, like, if you're on social media a lot, even if it's just like your agent or anything, or if you read through it, do you just try to, like, mentally block that out? Like, just don't think about all what the haters, or do you use that and just use that as like a motivation?
It's a fine line, because if you buy into it, then you'll become it. You have one bad play as a wide receiver, as you have a drop. I am who they think I am. And you start to fight that off, and that creates more drops. If you give up a sack or two a game and you hear and you buy into that, then you'll never be able to correct it. It's a fine line of seeing it and using it for motivation. And it's also just like, well, you ever watch Mad Men, the show? Well, it's a famous line. I always use it from Don Draper as far as the responsibility of the job. You know, everybody knows players get compensated as far as play, the money that you get made, the money that you make, and you work hard for it. But all of those complaints, critiques, criticisms, hate, as Don Draper would say, that's what the money's for. You understand?
Yeah.
And then you got to get to a point as a player too, to where you really psych yourself out a little bit and say, man, I'm the best in the world. Screw those folks. I'm still the top 1% of all football players in the world. And I'm here and they're not. Like, that's the mindset in which you have to get into when that type of stuff comes about.
Huh, I like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's something, different when you're looking through what people say. And I know, especially like this year, not having Ben come back and just, that you have a different starting quarterback and you don't entirely know, who's going to take that position, and drafting Pickett.
Kenny, yeah.
And just like that for me on draft night when I was going through and I was just like refreshing and trying to figure out who they had picked before. I just didn't want to watch the TV. I'm like, I can't take that pressure. So I'm like, I'll just watch it on Twitter. But
I'm sure as far as Kenny goes and just that quarterback position goes too, there's a lot of people that probably felt that way. And honestly, they probably felt the same way about Ben. They probably felt the same way about Cordell. They probably felt the same way about every quarterback that's walked through that room, because football is one of those things you invest so much time, energy, effort, love, hate into it that everything is hinged on your organization, your team picking the right people to succeed you. So, and that's also the other aspect of it too, is in football or almost any sport, just being honest with you, you got to go out and prove it. And the weird thing about football is while we invest so much emotion and time in it, one, it takes a long time to get to the season, it feels like, but we only get one a week. So you're more emotionally involved in it if you don't pick the right quarterback, you have a bad game, or even on the highs, if you win real big. Well, I can't wait for next week. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of emotions that go into football, but I'd almost tell you wait and see, but that's all we really got to do anyway.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Dang. Have a good one, man. Get something nice, some DK. Maybe he'll throw on a keychain or something.
Yeah, I stopped in before to get something.
Okay, for sure.
Sorry about that.
What was this about media? What did I miss here?
No, man. He was just speaking about just
what
general
happens?
social media at this point.
Okay.
Just the hate and love that guys get.
I hear you.
Dane was real good, man.
I hear you. All I do is I just populate this thing with potential replacements. That's how it goes here.
You know what people call that? You're a very secure man. Okay. He was good.
I'll be a lot more secure after the caffeine I'm about to get around the corner. Let's do it again tomorrow, Moan.
Let's rock out, DK.